Okay, what are you saying, people? Welcome back to your favorite Forex YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly Forex analysis, but I do apologize for uploading the video late. I was busy during the weekend, so I do still hope you find value in the content. But like always, guys, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen of the pairs will be analyzed today. Make sure you stay to the end of the video though, because I will be breaking down each pair, analyze what happened last week and potentially what can be happening this week as well. So before that said, guys, let's get straight into it. Okay, so first up we've got Euro USD. So for this pair, we did finish quite bullish last week. Overall, the market, yes, is still consolidating, but I do think we're getting ready for a breakout to the upside for Euro USD. So coming into this week, still looking for those buys as I drop into the 4H time frame. I've got two main areas I'm looking for buys for Euro USD. The first area is the area which we're currently really trading in. If we can hold this, I do think price will push bullish, and we'll be looking for the highs of the range up here. And if you can break through the range, then we can go a lot further. Actually, I'll just show you quickly on the daily. So if we do see that big breakout I'm looking for, essentially I'm expecting Euro USD to head back into this area here, 1.15400. Key areas of support will be time resistance, never got the retest, and I do think price is just building up for a bigger move to the upside, and that is where I'm expecting Euro USD to head to. Of course, that'll take a few days, maybe even a few weeks, depending on how strong the break is, but I do think Euro USD is slowly making its way into that area. So with that in mind, I'm still looking for those buys, and essentially as long as we stay above this level here, we'll only be looking for buys for Euro USD, because if we do break through that, the bears will be stepping in control, and we might be seeing a move into some of these lows and potentially the lows down there as well. So I'm looking for buys for Euro USD this week. Essentially, if we can hold on to this area, expecting Euro USD to turn bullish, push into those highs, and then maybe if you can break out, you can look to hold into that trade, or add to the trade, whatever you want to do. But that's the main area I'll be looking for buys. And if you do break through that, I'll be looking at this area at 1.12800. So first area 1.13250, second area 1.12800. And if you can hold to that, great. We'll be looking for buys. Obviously, risk to reward is much better here, but essentially either one of these areas will be looking for buys, and main targets for the week will be the highs of the range at 1.13850. And if we're lucky, we can get the break and push this a lot further. And the first target for, if we do get the break, we will be this kind of aerial consolidation here, that support. We're just taking that across at 1.144. So if you do get that break, we'll be looking for a push into those highs there, but we might not. So yeah, Euro USD firmly bullish on this pair as long as we can hold above 1.12800, and looking for buys for breakout this week. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to USD JPY. So USD JPY overall still very much in a bullish trend on the daily, the weekly, the monthly. Price is still showing a lot of signs of upside momentum. However, this morning and over the past couple of days, we have seen a bit of downside, which could just be retracement, or it could be price looking to see a little bit more of a deeper retracement, a slight reversal on the lower time frames before maybe price does turn bullish. So I do have my eye on this level here, which was the price swing high of the market at 115,500. If we can hold above that, I do think we can see some continuation to the upside, back to highs at 116,200, 116,300, maybe even surpass that and go on and create some new highs. If not, and we do actually break back below, I think we can see a bit of a deeper retracement for this pair back into 114,500, which was the price swing high over here, just going back down to retest that 114,500. So nice little range there between that level and this level, which I think if we can break underneath in the daily, we can see some nice continuation back into this area and take advantage of that retracement. If not, and we hold this area of support, we can look for continuation. So as we drop deep into the 4H, you can see overall we are showing some downside momentum here, and we're trapped underneath that trend line. So if price does hold this on the daily, that price swing high now turns support and breaks above that trend line, we'll be looking for a pullback, a high-low formation, a retest of the trend line maybe to go long, and expecting price to come back into those highs up here. and maybe surpass them. Like I said, some new highs potentially even at 117, because the higher time frames are all in confluence in the bullish direction. So that is possible. So we do have that potential setup. If price was now to come and break through that trend line, get back above that support, we can look for buys into that area, maybe even further. If not, and we break below, then we can actually use the trend line as resistance. See if the market can reject it again, use that key daily swing high over there, use that as resistance as well, looking for basically a break and retest, something like that. And then we'll be looking for continuations back into 114,500 to go and test that next level down there. So that is the plan for the week, either looking for buys or sells depending what the market does with this level. Do we break above it, break through that trend line, see some nice continuation, or do we look for a deep retracement? And I'll decide on my bias when I see probably today's candle close and see how the 4 hour candles close in proportion to that level there at 115,500. So get beneath it, can look for break and retest, use that trend line as resistance as well, potentially if it does retest, or if we do hold that level, clear the trend line, can look for some nice continuations back to highs and maybe higher for this week. Okay, so now I'm going to take a look at USD CAD. So USD CAD for last week, we had a bearish bias, looking for some retracement and then looking to see if we continue that bearish momentum, which essentially did happen towards the end of the week on Thursday. A bit of a false break to the upside. You can see that on the 4H, false break. And you see my crosshair, false break above that high, nice wick, and we did fall to the downside there. So we did see that overall kind of bearish momentum coming into the week, and I'm still expecting that coming into this week as well. Last week I was highlighting this key level of support at 1.25. I said if we can break through this major support, that's exactly where I'm expecting price to go. And I'm still holding that bias coming into this week as well. If we can break through that daily support, 1.25 is the next logical area where I'm expecting price to head to. So coming into this week, I'm looking at some retracement to the upside because we're still currently holding that support. So I'm looking at price, briefly moving to the upside, finding another low high and looking to short that down, or I'm looking for price to break through the support and looking for sales on the retest, looking to fill that range to 1.25 down there. So if we move on to the 4H, you can see we do have some support up here, which if price can come into, reject, form another lower high, could be some nice sales there, and we'll be targeting it all the way down at 1.25. Or if we go and break through this level, we're looking for the retest and again sales down to 1.25. So just depends where we find resistance. We'll be looking at sales at this area here at 1.27, and if we go and break through this area, then 1.26400, we'll be looking at sales again back down to 1.25. So that's the target for this week. We might not hit that this week. We could break through and maybe start consolidating or something, but essentially that's what I'm expecting price to be heading to for 1.26. Looking for sales at 1.27 or 1.26400 if you can have a nice break and retest of that area.
Sorry to interrupt the video guys, but if you are enjoying the content and you find it useful, make sure you go hit the subscribe button down below and also make sure you drop a like as well. It really does help the channel out. But anyway, back to the video.
Okay, so next we're going to take a look at Euro Pound. So Euro Pound had a bearish bias coming into last week, and I'm still coming into this week with a bearish bias, looking for a push into 0.83. Last week we were trading around here, and I said looking for a nice break and retest of this support here. Nice break and retest there, and we did fall over to the downside. Looking for a push into 0.83500, and for this week looking for a push into 0.83 on the dot there, because we still do have this support, which I'm expecting price just to make its way down to, whether it's going to break through or hold. I have no idea. We'll see how price reacts with the level when we get there, but 0.83 is where I'm expecting price to come into, which is this weekly support. So I can still see more downside for Euro Pound. Right now price is a little bit choppy on the lower time frames, but essentially I'm looking for price to continue to the downside. We got some nice support that was just broken through, so essentially as long as we can hold that as resistance, I'm expecting move into 0.83, which is that weekly support. So I do have two ideas which I'm looking at for Euro Pound for those sales, either break and retest of this prior low, because we're kind of consolidating right now. Prices struggling to break through this support. So if we can manage to break through, nice break and retest on the lower time frames, could offer some nice selling opportunities. Stop loss above, looking at pushing to 0.83. If not, and we do see another swing to the upside, then we'll be looking for, simply price to come into the highs of the range, come and retest that daily support now term resistance at 0.83724, and then same target first target will be the lows of the range, which is that support, but essentially looking for push into the weekly target down at 0.83. So that's the plan for the week for euro pound. Only really looking for sells. If we clear this, then maybe potentially I might look for buys, probably reanalyze the pair if that is to happen, but quite confident we can see price roll over. So essentially looking for a break of those lows, retest, get short, or if we do see another push higher, we'll be looking to take that right back down at that 0.83700 mark. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at AUD USD. So for this pair last week, we did see a bit of a move to the downside. I was actually expecting price to continue to the upside. Nice break and retest of this previous high here. Looking for some continuation. However, price put a lower high here on the 4H and melted to the downside very aggressively, as you can see there. So we could actually see more downside for AUD USD potentially. If we do take a look at the bigger picture, this could be the impulse leg. Bearish retracement there, kind of a bear flag there, and we could look for continuation further to the downside. So that is definitely on the card. So for this week, I do have my eye on this level here at 0.71800 and this support here as well, which is a nice range that we were fluctuating between a few days ago, which we could see a completion of that range again this week. So essentially, if AUD can hold this level here on the daily, I do think we can see price simply just roll over and see a move back into the support at 0.71. So there could actually be some nice sales here on the 4H. It does look like price is struggling to push through. So if we can maintain that on the daily, daily potentially could be giving us a nice shooting star pattern. I do see possible sales take this further to the downside back into the lows of the range at 0.71. If we don't and we push the upside back above this level, I do think we can make it to highs and see another continuation back up into 0.72600, which are the highs here. So essentially hold underneath this level. I'm expecting another move lower, break back above. I'm expecting another push to attack the highs at 0.72600. So essentially just going to keep my eye on what price it essentially does with that level. If you do break above that, nice break and retest of that 0.71800, essentially we'll be looking for buys. If not, and we maintain that, if the daily gives us a shooting star pattern, then there is a very high chance that price will simply just look to continue to the downside and we can push into these lows at 0.71. So that's the plan for the week. Hold that level of resistance, expecting more downside into 0.71. If not, break above, we'll look for the retest and looking for buys into the highs at 0.72700. Okay, so now I'm going to take a look at NZD CAD. So NZD CAD has been looking quite bearish for the past couple of days now. I was saying for NZD CAD that if we do take out this major support, I will be expecting price to come out and push and attack these lows, probably even take them out as well. And you can see in the weekly chart as well, for last week we closed bearish back below that support. So I do think we can see a breakout and probably see a push into this major support here at 0.83. So I do think there's a lot of downside for NZD CAD if we successfully maintain that momentum, breaking through that low on the higher time frame. So I do think there's more downside for NZD CAD. Next target I will be looking at 0.84500. And just before that 0.85. So I do think there's more downside. There's not really too much on the left of support resistance to look for other than that major weekly support on the weekly time frame. So we'll be using these round numbers as really nice areas to profit take, but I do think essentially we're going to see a really nice bearish trend form in the lower time frames and that kind of drop there on the weekly. So I'm looking at this low here on the left. And if we can get a nice break and retest of this low, I do think we could be in for some nice sell. Again, first target 0.85, and then we can push that even further, depending if that momentum sustains itself. But yeah, looking for a push overall into 0.84500. If not, and we see a slightly deeper pullback, that'll be great as well, because we get a better risk to reward. Come back and retest this and same thing, looking for sells into those areas, and these sells will be around 0.86 400, back down into potentially 0.85, and then potentially 0.84 500 there as well. So essentially only interested in the sells for NZD CAD. I'll only be interested in buys if we take out that level 0.86 400. Other than that, I'm heavily bearish on this pair, and I do think there's still a lot more downside. So nice break and retest of that low, can look for some continuations, or if we do take a deeper pullback into 0.86 400, that's still perfectly fine. We'll be looking for sells, better risk to reward, and simply looking for a push into those psychological levels down there. Okay, so next up we've got pound NZD. So pound NZD looking very bullish on the daily, coming into very strong areas of resistance. You can see the previous time we got rejected by this area, we did see quite substantial downside momentum. However, it does look like potentially we're breaking through this area. We haven't broken through it yet, but we could do that. I do have my eye on this level just above where price is trading at. So if we do break through this area, this is the next level I'm expecting price to come and test at 2.025. So potentially we could still see some more upside for pound NZD. Things are still looking bullish on the daily, weekly fairly bullish. The only thing is that we're trading at a very key level of resistance. So essentially it's either we hold this resistance and we see some downside, or we break through it and head to the next level, which will be 2.025. So essentially for the week, looking to see if this level can hold or break. We can look for sells if we do see some nice rejection, take this to the downside, potentially could see a move back up into this key level. Didn't really get a retest when we broke through, so potentially could even see a move back down into 1.96 500 potentially. Of course, that'll take probably a few days, potentially a couple of weeks to get there, but we could be seeing some nice downside. Or if we do go and break through this, we're looking at push into that next level. So dropping into the 4H, you can see we're overall kind of just about rejecting the highs. Again, nothing really of conviction in saying that yes, we're rejecting this high. Very choppy price action, very corrective, and we're still pushing to the upside. You can see on the hourly, still making higher highs and higher lows. So essentially it would be probably best to wait for a daily close, because if this daily keeps going like it is right now, it probably will close above there, and we could just see a continuation in the following couple of days up into 2.025. If that's the case, best bet would be to wait for a break and retest of that level there, and then look for buys to take this into those next levels. So that's potentially the best bet for this one. But for some reason, if we do see strong rejection from this area and price is showing some nice bearish momentum, we can look for sells and take this lower, and essentially looking for the next lower high in the market. It'd be nice if you could break through this support here, which price is struggling to do that. Get a nice retest of that, stop loss above the zone, and we can see quite a lot of downside. So that's how I'm going to look to play it for this one. Right now the market kind of correctively moving to the upside, borderline ranging really. But if we do manage to keep that momentum up, strong daily bullish close for today, I do think we can see some more upside into 2.025. If not, and we maintain rejection, see some nice bearish momentum, can look for that lower high and can see some downside. And like I said previously, 1.96 500 is where I can see price going if we can hold that area. So either buys or sells depending if we hold or break through that level for this week for pound NZD. Okay, so next we're going to take a look at CAD JPY. So CAD JPY is still trading at key area of resistance in the market. You can see all the wicks there, nice rejection to the downside. And again, we're showing some nice rejection again today as well. Last week I was talking about potentially seeing some downside from this level. We did see that downside happen quite quickly. However, it was short-lived. Price quickly snapped bullish back to come and retest that level, which we are rejecting it again right now. So essentially CAD JPY in the higher time frames, daily, weekly, even monthly as well, is quite bullish, and potentially we could still see more upside for this pair, but we could see some retracement before we do turn bullish again. So I'm looking at CAD JPY coming back down into this key area here at 90. Really nice support there, was resistance, and I do think if we come and hold this area, we can turn bullish and see some more upside. So I'm mainly looking at buys from here, but potentially after the strong rejection, you can get get some sales on the lower time frame, sell it into 90, then potentially look for buys if we can hold that level. So as we jump to the lower time frames, you can see really nice rejection there. So we'll be looking for a lower high, could get some nice shorts and then take that lower. We've just snapped through a key level of support here, so maybe if you can come back, get a retest from a lower high, we'll be looking at shorts into 90. But the main move I'm after is the longs for CAD JPY from 90. If we can get there, of course, see if we can hold on to that level, and if we do, I will be looking for buying opportunities to take it back, right back into that same level of resistance, basically just to complete the range between resistance and support, resistance, into the 91,400 area. So looking for sales to start the week, potentially could see some nice retracement, maybe come back and reject that area, see a little bit better on the hourly there, form a lower high, get some shorts in. We'll then be looking at targeting 90. Then if we can get some nice buying opportunities there, we'll look into sticking some buys and to capitalize on nice long opportunity back up into 91,400, because the higher time frames are quite bullish. So I do like to stay in sync with that direction there. So focused on 90. If we can hold that, looking for buys back up to 91,400 for this week for CAD JPY. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to Pound USD. So Pound USD this week we hit 1.36, which was our next target for 1.35. The market is still showing signs of bullish structure on the daily, on the weekly as well. We're seeing a nice shift in momentum. So I do think potentially we could even move into 1.37, but it does look like we are running out of steam. You can see how the market's moving on the daily. It's fairly corrected now on the 4H as well. So it is showing signs that the market is having trouble really pushing to the upside here. We do have this trend line here which can be contained in a bit of a channel, so we've got the highs and lows of the channel. So I do think we can see some more continuation to the upside until we actually break out of this channel, and we can see a little bit more downside for Pound USD, and I think we could come back into the region of 1.34. We do have a really nice area of support and resistance around here. Actually, to be honest, it's a little bit below 1.34, around the 1.33600 area. Nice support there, resistance. If we do snap out of that channel, we potentially could see a push back up into that area. So quite a big dump potentially for Pound USD. But as of right now, we're still holding on to that channel. So I do think 1.36500, then potentially 1.37 could be our next targets. Again, as long as we can hold that trend line, putting those higher highs and higher lows. Essentially don't really want to see price break through this level here. If we do, then potentially heading back down to that 1.33 level. So mainly looking for buys for this one. Right now we're already holding on to a support there. You can probably see it better on the hourly chart. Holding on to a nice support there, again with the confidence of the trend line. So potentially could actually see some nice continuations for Pound USD back up into that 1.36. Well, firstly back up into 1.36, into the highs of the market, because we're aiming to break that currently. But if we can do 1.36500, then 1.37 will be the target. If not, and we break back underneath, then essentially looking for those sells, break the trend line, break through the supports, and we'll be looking at some lower high formations to take that further into 1.33600. So for me, I'm still bullish on Pound USD. I still do think we can see some weakness on the DXY, so more weakness in the dollar, and pound is still showing bullish structure. So no real reason to be looking for longer term sales. Right now the market's still showing buys, shows some bullish structure. So for me, I'm still bullish, looking for 1.36 to be taken out, then 1.365 and then 1.37. If not, I mean full bearish, take out this channel, take out some key supports. Now we'll flip my bias to bearish, looking for a move into 1.33600 for this week. Okay, so next we're going to move into Pound CAD. So Pound CAD, we're still seeing rejection of this key support here. Last week I was saying if we do reject this, could be seeing some nice buys, simply a nice break and retest of that, and we did see that happen quite early on in the week. So Pound CAD for me, I still do think we can go bearish with this one. I think price is simply putting in a major lower high in the market after this massive bearish move to the downside. I think we'll put a lower high, and I do think eventually we will turn bearish and take out these lows. Again, more of a long-term analysis for this one, looking at the weekly, bear in mind those wicks there. So I do think we can roll over for pound CAD still. However, looking on the daily and immediate structure, we are still, bullish on this one, still putting higher highs and higher lows. So for me to look for sells, I'm looking for a lower high to be formed. We do still have this support holding as resistance, so if we can see another push into this level, because you can still see we're getting this push, higher low, higher high, potentially another higher low, and looking for that low high formation potentially at that level around the 1.72500 area. So if we come attack this level again, fail to break it, put a lower high beneath this one, I'll happily look for shorts, and I do think we can see another move to the downside into this support. We'll just be looking for moving to the support this week. However, I know I said potentially price could be coming down there, but again, that's going to take multiple days, multiple weeks probably for that to happen. So for this week, looking for a move back into 1.71. But yeah, first the market is looking a little bit bullish now, so I'm waiting for that lower high to form, and then we'll be looking at shorts into 1.71 for the week. So something like this for this week, back down into 1.71. I will turn my bias bullish if we can take out this key resistance on the daily around the 1.73 mark. If we can take that out, retest it, then I'll happily look for longs, but right now I'm bearish. So looking for a push to the downside for pound CAD this week back into 1.71. Okay, so now we take a look at pound JPY. So pound JPY overall is very, very bullish here. If you look at the daily, the weekly, the monthly, all the higher time frames are still showing bullish momentum, bullish structure. However, we are starting to see some downside in the lower time frames, 4H hourly. And I do think that's just retracement. We do have a major structural high. If I take that across, will now be acting as support, and I do think as long as we stay above this, which is around the around the 156 area, I do think if we can hold this, we will see some continuation to the upside back into 158 and go and tap those highs. We may break through them, we may put in a higher high, not too sure yet, but the probability is quite high. If we do hold this, we'll see a continuation and just see that overall bullish momentum carry us into those highs. So overall, looking for buys for pound JPY if we can stay above 156. Dropping to the 4H, you can see we've seen some downside today over the London session, coming to New York as well, and we're still holding on to this support. So essentially, as long as we can hold on to this, I will be looking for buys for pound JPY, so we do have a good opportunity at pushing back into 158. So still bullish on pound JPY. Dropping onto the hourly, not too much there, some slight rejection, which is showing some good signs, but we have seen quite a strong bearish momentum take us to the downside there. So essentially, as long as we can hold that, we'll be looking for continuations into 158 there, potentially high as well, but for the week we'll be concentrating on longs into 158 for pound JPY this week. Okay, so now we'll take a look at gold. So gold rejected 1830, and I did say if we do hold that level, we could see some strong movements to the downside, because if you look at the history of the level, very strong reactions from 1830, and we did have a fairly strong reaction again this week. So gold looking a little bit bearish. Overall, gold has been a little bit choppy there. You can see fluctuating between support and resistance quite a lot, essentially kind of just moving sideways really. But if we do break through this key support here at 1785, there will be a very good chance we could make a move into 1760 area and just complete that range in a nice break and retest set up there, and just take advantage of that momentum, because you can see when we did reject this area last, very, very clean move to the upside, not much support and resistance in our way. So if we do take out this support, I do think we'll see more downside for gold. Overall, gold I do think potentially could roll over anyway, so we could potentially reject this level, see some more upside, but I will be looking for a lower high to take this right back into that support. Then if we can get a break into 1760 down there, because gold is starting to put in those lower highs, potentially, well, it is a lower high there, potentially looking for a third lower high, and potentially looking for us to roll over and snap that 1785 support. So we'll be looking at sells again, no real level that I could potentially look at there, so I'm kind of looking out for the third lower high, potentially maybe this resistance there across, but it doesn't have to be at that area. So mainly focusing on this trend line here, trying to put in that lower high, maybe around that 1812 1816 area, and then from there looking to see if I can take gold to the downside. If we don't see that retracement and gold snaps that level, then like I said, the break and retest is where I'm going to place most of my attention on, and try and take advantage of some shorts back up into these lows of 1760 for gold this week. Okay, so now I'll take a look at Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, we've seen some downside this week, and I did say if we do snap below a key support at kind of the 46,000 area, I do think we can see more downside and fill the wick, which we can see price is just about done. So we're coming to a very key level of support now at the 40k mark, and essentially if we hold this level of support, I do think we can see a lot of upside for Bitcoin. We did not come back for the retest when we did break through this 46k mark, so we could see some nice buys back up into 46k. However, if we do snap through 40k, there is a chance that we could be coming back into some of these levels of support all the way down there for Bitcoin, because we are already struggling to hold support now for Bitcoin. We're snapping through a lot of levels and we're seeing a lot of bearish momentum. So if we can hold this, then we can see some nice buys. Again, I'm not looking for the overall bigger push to the upside yet for Bitcoin. Even if we do see some upside back up to 46k, it potentially would be short-lived, because we could easily find resistance there and fall over. This structure here is still bearish, and until we break out of that structure, we could still see more downside for Bitcoin. So hold 40k, can see move to 46k, looking for a setup, something like that. If not, and we break through 40k, then potentially could be ending up around the 32k mark for Bitcoin. Again, that probably won't happen, you know, in 1 week. It might take a few, but essentially that's what I'm expecting Bitcoin to head to if we do snap through that key level of support this week.
Okay, so that is the end of the video, guys. Hope you all enjoyed that and found that useful. Like always, guys, any questions, agree or disagree with my analysis, let me know in the comments down below and I will get back to you. If you did enjoy it, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and also hit the bell so you don't miss out on any uploads. Before that said, guys, I do hope you enjoyed the content, and I'll catch you in the next one.